As the United States makes its mark in the Arctic, one Democratic senator is now claiming that Russia has made an unbelievable commitment to increasing its military presence in the region to the highest it has been since the Cold War. RT's Rachel Blevins has the latest.
With the Arctic region warming at an alarming and unprecedented rate, U.S. officials are claiming that this is America's moment to stand up to competition in the area, and as usual, they are warning against involvement from Russia. In fact, one Democratic senator is claiming that Russia is pouring more military effort and money into the region than it has at any point since the Cold War. Joe Manchin of West Virginia insisted that it's time for the U.S. to start acting now before it is overtaken by other world powers.
They're spending more money there than they are in entire social services for Russia. It's unbelievable the commitment they've made. We've seen more activity of aircraft flying in those spaces. We've seen submarine activity from Russia, more so than we have during the Cold War.
Moscow has repeatedly denied claims from the Trump administration that it is conducting low-yield nuclear tests in the Arctic, and officials have argued that while they are not preparing for an attack, they do have a right to defend their country. Russia's foreign minister previously said, quote, "We don't threaten anyone. We ensure sufficient defense capabilities given the political and military situations around our borders." But repeated warnings from U.S. officials that countries like Russia and China should refrain from any aggressive actions in the region have raised concerns. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has said that the world is entering a new stage of strategic engagement in the Arctic, complete with new threats to the region's interests and its real estate. He also claimed that the rapidly melting ice, which has resulted from the warmest temperatures in the region since 1900, should be viewed positively because it, quote, "opens up new shipping routes." So while the United States refers to the Arctic's untapped oil and rare earth minerals as a land of opportunity and abundance, there is concern that it could also be the scene of a fight for control if the U.S. continues to threaten Russia and China. In Washington, Rachel Blevins, RT.
For more, we turn to former Pentagon official Michael Maloof. Michael, I don't like to talk about private conversations that we have off the set, but in this case, early last week, you kind of gave me a heads up. This has not really been picked up yet by the mainstream media. You said, watch the Arctic. That's going to be the new conversation, talking points that people are going to start looking at countries around the world. However, if the Arctic is so important, as we are now starting to discover, why has it gone so unnoticed, and what makes it so important to all these countries?
Because we've been so preoccupied in other parts of the world. Look at the Middle East, Iran, and Afghanistan. We're not focusing on this, but Russia has given it the highest priority. Highest priority economically, strategically, and we have not.
Okay, so why is that? What is the benefits of this exploration?
Well, they recognized very, very early that they could carve a pathway through, and they have because of the melting ice. And they have 40 icebreakers. We have 2. And they have established bases up there. I mean, to show you the extent to which they do strategic thinking and projecting themselves 20, 40, 50 years in advance in terms of strategy thinking. Also, it is the shortest point to all the capitals in the world. So militarily, strategically, if you were to put missiles up in the Arctic, you would have no warning time.
And that right there, I think, is very interesting. We can talk about economics. We can talk about unearthed places right now. But military-wise, do you think other countries, because it is going to be so valuable, other countries are going to let it go so easily to be controlled by one? Well,
it's not just controlled by one. There is an effort to lay claim off the continental shelf in international waters. That's why you see Russia has actually physically placed its flag at the bottom of the ocean of the North Pole. You're going to see more strategic shipping going through, submarines, things like that. China is coming in now. You see the Scandinavian countries wanting to play into this because of the passageways. Denmark is another one. I mean, and Greenland, they own Greenland. And Alaska has become the new strategic location for all of this. It could become the new Flashpoint unless certain things are done now, not only on the part of the United States to try to stay up with what Russia is doing strategically, but also to politically to basically start working together with the United States and Moscow over something like this where they have joint interests, but you know, their interests overlap. And you have Lavrov now trying to push Trump in a direction of resurrecting something that was an old Cold War relic, but which was relevant, and that was spheres of influence. In order to lessen tensions. Russia stays out of the Latin American area, we'll sort of diminish our presence and our influence in the areas of Ukraine right up against the Russian Federation. There seems to be some discussion. That's why the issue of the Arctic has become so much more important, because no one's focusing on it, but it could become the next flashpoint in a world crisis.
Well, it's interesting because you're talking about getting along and dealing with peace. However, is it easier to deal with undeveloped land and be able to broker peace rather than the other areas of the world, which obviously is not going so well in some of these conversations?
Yeah, well, what's happened is that Russia particularly recognized the potential, the economic and resource potential.
So is it whoever gets there first gets to lay claim? Is that how we work?
Yeah, and then it's put on a registry with the UN, and then it's up to the UN to figure out conflicting claims.
Right.
That in itself could lead to conflict because of world powers wanting to have. I mean, we see this right now in the East and South China Sea with China and the other countries in that region. They're all fighting over the very valuable resources, and it could cause a war.
Real quick, at the present time, can the U.S. military actually set up operations in Arctic? Are we prepared for that? We've got the equipment. You said we only have 2 ice cutters.
Yeah, well, yeah, we are beginning exercises, but we need to be working with equipment up there, getting the training. We haven't, people aren't trained for that. I mean, they're beginning to have a little bit of training, but never to the extent that the Russians have.
You mentioned the Arctic word to me first. This is probably the first newscast that's covering it. I am sure this is not the last, however. Wait to look into your crystal ball for us. Thank you, Michael.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.